So we're gonna now proceed and create this button and text effects. So I'm gonna go to my Framer. Sorry, I'm gonna go to my Framer workspace. And what you see here is, remember, we had this dummy section and we have this fixed section. So this dummy section, I'm just gonna make sure it's locked because we won't use it anymore for now. And so I'm gonna go to this fixed section and I'm gonna add effects to this text so that we can see this text only when a particular section is reached. So to do that, I'm gonna go to mid text 1 and I'm gonna click here to the properties and I'm gonna click here effects and I'm gonna come here to scroll transform. So the trigger that I want to use is a section in view. But now, as you can see, we have no section. So we need to go back and define sections. And to do that, we need to identify the section that we're gonna use. So in this video, or in this type of section that we're gonna use, is I'm gonna add some sections inside this frame, which has the video. So I'm just gonna hold F on my keyboard and I'm gonna draw a frame here. And I'm just gonna make sure that it is set to fill all the space. So I'm gonna come here to my video frame and I'm gonna add a layout. So what happens, the video also gets stacked on top of this frame. So I'm just gonna make sure the video is set to absolute and pinned both to the top, right, left, and bottom. So the video remains intact. And so this frame, which is now in layout, we need to add the width to set it to fill, and the height, I'm gonna set it to fill. So right now you cannot see it because it's just here. And but now inside this frame, this is where I want us to let me just give it a Z index so that you can see what I'm doing. So I'm gonna give it a Z index, and as you can see, this is a white frame. So then I'm gonna, again, inside this frame, I'm gonna hold F and draw another frame inside it. And then I'm gonna make sure this is also set to fill. Sorry, so make sure the parent has a layout itself. So I'm gonna make sure this is set to fill the available space. And I'm also gonna make sure the height is set to fill. And then this is what I'm gonna call my trigger section. And let me call it trigger section 1. Then I'm gonna duplicate it, and now we have 2 trigger sections. So then this, I'm gonna call it trigger section 2. And so this first section, I'm gonna give it a color so you guys can mean. So now we have 2 sections. I'm gonna get rid of this gap. So now we have 2 sections which are inside this video frame and this video stack. So this is a video container. Okay, so inside the video container, we have the video, and then we have the stack. And I'm gonna call this section trigger 1. I'm gonna come here to scroll section, and I'm gonna name it trigger section 1. And then I'm gonna do the same for this one. Scroll section, I'm gonna name it trigger section 2. Okay, now we have 2 trigger sections. So basically, triggers are gonna trigger our animation as you scroll. So now I'm just gonna make sure opacity is set to 0, so we go back to our original state. And now let's go back to our mid text, and I'm gonna go back to scroll transform. So I want a specific section when it gets to the center of the viewport, which is so when it gets to center of the viewport, and the section that I want to use is this section trigger 2, and I want it to move from opacity 1 all the way to opacity 0. So what we're doing, again, we want this mid text to, as we scroll and we get to this section called trigger section 2, which is this that we've defined, and this trigger section 2 gets to the center of our viewport, then we're gonna move from 1 all the way to 2. Okay, so we're gonna disappear this mid text 1, and then we're gonna do the same for mid text 2. And I'm just gonna come here to I'm gonna come here to effects. I'm gonna add a scroll transform. So I want when a section in view, which this time I'm gonna use when it gets to the top of the viewport, and this is basically trigger section 1. And trigger section 1, remember, it's this first section, this part here. We're gonna move from a 0 opacity to 0 0, to all the way from 0 0 all the way to 1 1. Okay, and then we don't need to add a transition for now, but so we want it to move from 0 all the way to 1. So basically we want this mid text 2 to become visible when this part is getting to the top of the viewport. So let's just see if it works. So now, as you can see, we have section 1 only on our screen, because now section 2, the text that was here, section 2, which was on top of section 1, we have added a transform, and it will only show when this part, which is this trigger part, gets to the top of the viewport. So I'm gonna start to scroll, and let's see our animation. And now section 1, that text will disappear in the background. So as you can see, we're gonna still scroll, and now I want you to see what we mean. So when we get to this top of the viewport, we can see that now we have section 1 is going, and now section 2 is coming up really well, as you can see. So let me just show you again. So as you can see, we have section 1 here as it disappears because we had set these two. So we need to actually use another effect here, because we're not supposed to see section 1 disappearing, but it will be even the same. So section 1 disappears, as you can see, and then now we bring in section 2, and then now, as you can see, now we are in a different section. So maybe we can use another image here. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm just gonna tweak this mid text animation again. Remember, we had set it to trigger when it gets to the center of the viewport, but we want to change this so that it gets to from the bottom of the viewport, because we want, as we scroll, then this mid text 1, which is our first text, disappears. So I'm just gonna change that for now, and let's see what happens. So see, as I scroll, section 1 is good there, and then as I continue to scroll, as you can see, we have section 2, which comes up very well. I think this now looks good, so that the section 1 just disappears in the background somewhere. So as you can see, when we're scrolling, we have this text going up, and then section 2 comes up. So I'm just gonna do something very quick. I'm gonna just minimize the height of the scroll section so that we don't scroll really much. I'm gonna use 2400, and then I'm just gonna edit these other images so you guys can see the final outcome. So I've just done some cleanup, adjusting some heights and adding these videos, so we can now view our website. And if I start to scroll, you can see it works perfectly well, and you can see we have these nice images and videos that come in from the left and right, and then we have this nice reveal effect here, which reveals our text. And then as you continue again, we can see that it works perfectly well. So what is remaining now is for us to try and design this subscribe button, or this button here, that we're gonna use to showcase website. So to do that, I'm just gonna go back to my space here, and I had already designed this button. Just clean it up a bit. I had already designed it, and I'm just gonna hold Control C, and I'm gonna paste it inside my desktop. So it's, I mean, all the way down here. but I'm gonna give it a fixed positioning type, and I'm gonna make sure it pinned. Let's just start by pinning it at the top. We need to go all the way up to the top, and this is where it is. So I want it to be pinned at the bottom, not the top. I'm just gonna drag this with like I think somewhere like footy is good. So now, as you can see, we have this button here, but we want it to have this effect. Now, as you can see, we have this button here. So when I view my website, we have this button that is always here and it's always fixed to my screen. So I want to add an effect that when I scroll up, it disappears. Actually, when I scroll up, it appears. When I scroll down like this, it disappears. So I'm just gonna go to this button here. I'm gonna add an effect. So I'm gonna come into effect, scroll animation, and then when on scroll, when I scroll up, we want to add a preset. So when I scroll up, we can see it, but now it comes from outside here, like 23. So as you can see, it's coming from outside this blue line. So when I scroll up is when now it goes up. So again, this is okay. So as you can see, this is where the website. So as you can see, we have it there. So when I scroll up, it appears. Actually, it needs to be the other way around. It needs to be like when we scroll down, that's when it appears. So let me just show you. So when I scroll down, it disappears, and I can website. So you want to use it so that you can, make sure the user is focused on product, and then when they want to scroll up, it comes in very nicely. So they can use it, click it, and subscribe or remix something. So I think this looks good. So yeah, so that's pretty much it on today's video. I hope you learned something, and if you wish to practice more and get more ideas about Framer, you can subscribe to this channel, and you can also find a free remix file of this project that I've done in the description below. So I'll see you in the next video.